sweat my rust, breathing in chemicals. I found that to be a really good song for this story because one of the things that I found by the end of my senior year was that there were so many opportunities and so many chances to become successful here at the university that that's virtually what happened. I was writing a column again for that year, my senior year, and working at the Student Voice. I was also in the TV show Focus on You, and that was a great experience as well. And I'll have another video coming out tomorrow morning at 9, just about Focus on You and the different things that I did, including a wonderful debate section that I held with a young lady by the name of Lori. And she was such a pleasure to work with on that. And there are two experiences, though, that I do want to really share, which is the first one was the chair of the College Democrats was a friend of mine, Jason. And one night Jason came to my room and he said, hey, we're just chatting and talking about smoking pot. And Jason says, hey, I got a friend, you want to go smoke weed with him? He's somebody you know. And he'd be surprised to find out that the chair of the College Republicans is a big pothead. And so we did, and it was funny, and I bring this story up because the gentleman who went by the nickname Fugazi actually asked me, how do you rectify this, Bob, being such a Republican in this? And it was probably the first time I actually said out loud, I think I'm more of a libertarian than I am really a Republican. The second great story about Jason, though, and the former chair of the College Democrats at that, was in the spring semester when I was taking a state and local government class. And in that class, we were given a scenario assignment where everybody was assigned a role. And in this class, the professor was the chair of the department, Jan Hillard, of the political science department. And Jan was also the faculty advisor for the College Democrats, and had been when I got the chair of the College Democrats busted in the '94 election. And so in this exercise of state and local government, the roles that were assigned, he made Chad the mayor, and he made me the city manager. And there were a number of scenarios that you had to solve in the class, and one of the things that we had to solve was how to pay for capital projects. We had this little charter that was in the textbook, and at the very end of the charter, it said one of the things that the council can do to deal with these issues was issue bonds according to the language in the charter. And then the charter completely skipped listing any of those steps. And so I don't know if anybody else has ever done the exercise or had the same experience I did, but I realized that we could just bond most of this stuff in like they do in government today. And so I went down to the River Falls City Hall and I asked them for a copy of the language for their bonding. And I went back to the dorms and I retyped the entire thing word for word with the exception of one small statement. In the middle of this thing is a list of what you can spend the money on, and it's very specific. It has to be on capital projects. And in the middle of all the types of capital projects they could spend it on, I included a new car for the city manager. I didn't tell anybody I did that, but the idea is that nobody would know whether it should have been in there or not. And I wondered if anyone would catch it. So the next night after we actually passed the bonding measure into the class, I was sitting with the chair of the College Democrats again, and had the most interesting experience. I told him about it, and we laughed, and we come into class the next day though, and Jason goes up to the mayor, Chad, whom I'd had busted, and says, "Hey," to which Chad clearly is paging through suddenly to find out this language exists in this document the whole class has just passed. And when the class begins, he brings us to the attention of the city council, and I will never forget Jan Hillard grabbing the paperwork and just the smile on his face, realizing what I had done, was just the most precious thing of that entire experience at college. I finished my senior year with 3 very specific things that, as I tell the story, I hope we all see that are just kind of unique. And the first one was that the Student Voice, the newspaper here on campus, had made the decision that they were going to go online with the newspaper. This is really pre-internet being such a big thing. I mean, I was coding HTML when Netscape was a 1.0. But the second semester of my senior year, me and 2 other gentlemen did the coding to put the University of Wisconsin River Falls newspaper online. And in fact, the Student Voice was the first UW System student newspaper to go online. And that was a really exciting thing. That spring, I had worked all year through the College Republicans, and in particular, rewriting the Constitution for the state. And at the state convention, I was actually voted the College Republican of the Year. So in 1997, I was the Wisconsin College Republican of the Year. And then at school, in my marketing communications major, I had one final moment of first, and that was that we had to do a portfolio presentation. And there were 7 of us in the class. And I remember as I was putting together my PowerPoint, I looked around at what I wanted to include, and it suddenly appeared to me, this one very interesting facet that I should bring up, which I did at the very end of my portfolio presentation. And that was that I was in a class of 7 with 6 women and me, making me the first male graduate of the University of Wisconsin River Falls Marketing Communications program. I would run into Steve a number of times over the years, and he was really kind and had a lot of great things to say about the classes and the students over the years. But he mentioned one day, he said, but you know, that first class, and I'd have to agree, I thought all of us had such incredible potential. It'd be interesting to see where the rest of the ladies are these days. So I closed out River Falls on a very high note, and it was an incredible turnaround from having been fired from Copley 4 years before, and from sitting in a cold, dark hangar covered in condiments in Rome, New York, 7 before that. Things change, and accomplishments happened. And as I graduated, I was excited to see what came next and what I was capable of. And we'll do that next week. Actually, the week after. Next week, I'm going to do some bits and pieces up to this point. But I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys have a nice day. Peace. I'm breaking in and shaping up and checking out on the prison bars. This is it, the apocalypse. Whoa, I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones, enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm radioactive, radioactive. Whoa.